Good morning, BookTube. My name is Glenn. This is Glenn's Bookshelf. I have been trying to recover from a cold. You can probably hear that in my voice. So I've been laying low, not bothering anyone, trying to just kind of keep to myself and get better. But I have not been able to avoid the news that another book haul war has broken out, and I felt it incumbent upon me to get up off the sickbed and come in and join the fight, because my descendants, when they ask me what I did during the book haul wars of 2026, are probably not going to be impressed with, well, I was sick, or I just couldn't make it that day. So here I am, and I have a selective little book haul for you. This book haul war, I think, was started by Aaron Facer a few days ago, who popped up with a video called A Sneaky Little Book Haul. And then that reading guy came along with an innocent little book haul. And I had to decide, well, what kind of book haul was I going to be able to contribute to this book haul war? And I think the best way of characterizing this edition of the book haul war for me is a selective little book haul. Only 3 volumes to share with you from last month's book haul, but without further ado, let's get started. The first one is Challenger. This is, as you might divine from the book title, a book based on the famous Challenger crash, the space shuttle that exploded over the skies in Florida on January 28th, 1986. And this was one of those events that, much like the assassination of John F. Kennedy, if you're old enough for that, or 9/11, it's kind of one of those, do you remember where you were and what you were doing that day? The explosion of the Challenger as it launched from Cape Canaveral was kind of one of those events. I was at college. I was at a small parochial university in Michigan, and that's where I was. It was very cold that day, and but I remember hearing of that event, and the president of the university kind of did a special chapel service that evening, and I went to it was a religious affiliated university, and so I remember that event somewhat anyway, but haven't thought a whole lot about it in the years since, until there was a Netflix series not long ago, still up on Netflix, 3 or 4 part series, very good. The Netflix documentaries have been very hit or miss for me. I thought this was the series on the Challenger was, I think, one of the better ones. But it also left me with more than a few questions about how things came together, and the warnings about the SEALs and some of the other issues that surrounded the development of the shuttle, and the different forces that kind of conspired to set aside some of the safety issues, and in the interest of time and speed and accomplishment, to go ahead with the shuttle launch. And so I thought it was worthwhile picking up this volume. This is the paperback. Got it brand new from Barnes and Noble a few weeks ago. I've read about 40 pages. I think the writing is really good, but it's definitely a book that, due to the technical jargon and just the scientific realities of the construction and the various factors involved in the shuttle's launch and the atmosphere and all of that, it's kind of book that is not really the type of book that is a nighttime reading for me. It's something that I'll need to dedicate some time to during the day. But it's by the author's name is Adam Higginbotham, and he's also the author of the book Midnight in Chernobyl, which I have not read, but which was turned into a fictionalized TV series on HBO. But I've watched that once or twice, and that's really good too. So have very high expectations and high hopes for this author. And so that was one of my pickups during February. Staying in the same decade, we have The Collapse, The Accidental Opening of the Berlin Wall by Mary Elise Sarraute. Hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I was kind of inspired to get this book from a couple of other booktubers. I was watching a video by John at Must Read More a few weeks ago, and he was reviewing a book, talking about a book he read about the Stasi, the East German police or East German secret police. And obviously kind of wrapped up in that story is the story of life behind the Berlin Wall, and with that, the experiences of people who tried to escape, the experiences of people who were investigated or caught by the Stasi, just what life was like for people living on the other side of the wall, on the other side of freedom for many of us. And kind of got me to thinking that it would be interesting to read a book about the collapse of the Berlin Wall, and it just struck me that, as famous of an event as that was, I couldn't really think of a book that was about that topic. It would seem like something that there should be at least one, but maybe more well-known books about this, but I didn't know what a good book to read about that was, and I looked up a couple online. And then I happened upon a Steve Donahue video where he was talking about books from his bookshelf. He was, a bookshelf review tour, and I believe this book was, I think this was one of the books that he talked about from his shelf. So it's The Collapse, again, by Mary Elise Sarraute. It's the accidental opening of the Berlin Wall. And I got this used from Amazon for like $6 or $7, so I thought that was well worth the price. And I've done a little bit of reading in this book already. And it's I think it appears very well written, but also just kind of a dense read, and something that I'll really need to pay close attention to, just all the different groups and different forces that were at work here in East Germany and in Russia and in some of the other Warsaw Pact satellite countries, where Mikhail Gorbachev's policy of glasnost was kind of opening up some of the restrictions and different countries within the Warsaw Pact were responding to Gorbachev and his initiatives differently, and that sort of threw the East German authorities into, kind of a confusing space of knowing how to respond, and it was topped off by the elderly East German leader being sick for part of that summer of 1989 and into the fall, and then you have the different opposition and dissenting groups and people that all acted in different ways that led to the opening of the Berlin Wall. And the author of this book sort of posits that, as you can tell from the subtitle, which is the accidental opening of the Berlin Wall, that the opening of the Berlin Wall was accidental. It was not. It came about under kind of confused and mysterious circumstances, and it sounds like maybe the East German authorities weren't quite sure what they were doing, or maybe they didn't realize quite what they were doing, and maybe the decision to open the wall or permit a passage over the wall would not be treated violently. Like I said, I'm only about 40, 50 pages in, but it sounds like it came about through the result of a lot of different factors, and so I'm fascinated to delve more deeply into that. Finally, I picked up this book. You probably can't see it well. There was no sort of cover leaf on it, but it's The Divine Politician, and I might get a better sense of what the book is about by opening the cover there. The Divine Politician, Samuel Cooper and the American Revolution in Boston by Charles W. Akers. It came out in 1982. I got this from Amazon, obviously used. Didn't pay much for it. I don't know anything about Samuel Cooper, and I don't know anything about this author, Charles Akers, but I'm very interested in the nexus of religion and politics in American history, particularly surrounding events like the Civil War and the Revolutionary War, and that, the revolutionary constitutional creation period. And so I thought this would be a worthwhile book to pick up. I saw it listed in the bibliography section of a book on the Bunker Hill battle. And so I just right away decided that once I found a cheap copy on Amazon to snag it. So there you have it. Those are the three books that comprise my selective little book haul. Thank you to Aaron Facer, that reading guy, and to Steve Donahue, who also made a video contribution to this little book haul war section time of BookTube here at the end of February, the beginning of March. And so I wish you all well on this 1st of March, and I look forward to seeing and talking to you all again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.